The rain had been hitting the windows of the small corner grocery store in Louisville, Kentucky, with a soft but unsettling rhythm, the kind that made the night feel deeper, colder, and strangely hollow. Mark Sullivan had just flipped the "open" sign to "closed," ready to begin his nightly routine of sweeping the aisles and counting the register. He liked closing time. It gave him quiet, something his life hadn't offered much of in the past few years. But as he turned toward the back of the store, something broke the silence. A tiny, trembling whisper floated from between the stacked cereal boxes. A voice so small it felt impossible. "Mom didn't come back." In that instant, the sound sliced through the empty store like a warning, a plea, and a heartbreak all at once. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and restoring hope where it's slipping away, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support means everything for stories like this. Mark's breath caught as he set the broom aside and slowly walked toward the sound. He found a little girl, no older than 6, curled behind the shelf with a stuffed rabbit clutched to her chest, her hair damp from the rain and her eyes swollen from crying. Her name, as he later learned, was Sophie. She looked up at him as if expecting to be yelled at, or worse, ignored. But Mark wasn't that man anymore. Not after the mistakes he'd made years ago, the ones that took him away from everyone he cared about and left him rebuilding his life piece by piece. Seeing Sophie alone in his store was like seeing a mirror of his own lost childhood, the abandoned corners he once hid in when life grew too sharp. He crouched down slowly, trying not to frighten her. She explained in broken, hesitant sentences that her mother had told her to stay right here and be brave before disappearing through the back door hours earlier. She had waited, and waited, but her mother hadn't returned. The truth settled heavily in the air. Sophie had been left behind. Whether intentionally or by circumstance, the result was the same, a child scared, alone, and pretending not to be. Mark felt something tighten in his chest. He didn't have children. Life had never given him that blessing. Or maybe, he thought, he had never earned it. But in Sophie's eyes, he saw someone who needed him now, not tomorrow, not in some future where he finally got everything right, now. He wrapped his coat around her shivering frame and carried her to the employee break area. The storm outside grew fierce, thunder rumbling like a warning of what worse might come. As he warmed up some soup for her, he wondered what could drive a mother to abandon her daughter in such a fragile moment. Desperation? Fear? Something darker? Hours passed, and still no one came, not her mother, not a frantic relative, not a neighbor. Nothing. Sophie ate quietly, gripping her rabbit as though it were the only thing tethering her to safety. Mark called the police, but due to the storm and several emergencies, they said they'd send someone when they could. Until then, he was all she had. As the night deepened, Mark felt memories stirring, the dark chapters he tried so hard to leave behind. His years battling addiction. The arrest. The months he spent behind bars replaying the moment his own mother told him she couldn't trust him anymore. Regret had become his shadow. But sitting next to Sophie, watching her fight sleep with small, brave blinks, he realized something profound. Life was giving him a chance. Maybe not to erase his past, but to redeem himself through someone else's future. He kept the store lights dimmed, letting the storm hum outside as he sat beside her. She eventually fell asleep, her head resting on his arm. He didn't move for fear of breaking the fragile trust she had placed in him. Through the quiet, he promised himself that no matter what happened, he wouldn't let her feel abandoned again. When morning began to nudge the darkness away, the police finally arrived. Mark gently woke Sophie and assured her she'd be safe. She grabbed his sleeve and begged him not to let them take her somewhere alone. Her voice cracked with fear, and something inside Mark cracked too. He spoke for her, telling the officers she needed stability, warmth, and someone who cared, not just a temporary solution. The officers listened, but protocol required they take her in until a guardian could be identified. As they guided her toward the patrol car, Sophie kept looking back, her eyes filled with a desperation Mark knew too well. Before she got in, she whispered, "Please don't forget me." The words hit him harder than any punishment he had ever endured. Mark didn't forget. He couldn't. He visited the Child Services office the next day, signing the paperwork to be considered as a temporary guardian. They hesitated at first, his past wasn't exactly spotless. But his sincerity, his steady job, and his willingness to provide stability spoke louder. Week by week, meeting by meeting, the system slowly began to believe in him. Sophie's mother was eventually found, but she was battling demons far darker than anyone knew. Rehab, court proceedings, uncertainty, nothing looked promising. Through it all, Sophie stayed with Mark, and he worked tirelessly to give her a life that felt safe again. He read her bedtime stories, packed her lunch for school, taught her how to tie her shoes, and learned to braid her hair, badly, but with love. Slowly, painfully, beautifully, they built something resembling family. Months later, when Sophie was officially placed in his long-term care, she ran into his arms as if she had been running toward that moment her entire life. Mark held her tight, tears burning his eyes. This wasn't the life he expected. It was better. Imperfect, challenging, unpredictable, but redeemed. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps keep stories of hope alive. Before the ending, please drop a comment telling us what moment moved you the most. And so, in a little grocery store on a stormy Kentucky night, two lost souls found each other. Mark found the purpose he thought he'd lost forever. Sophie found a home she never expected. And together, they proved that sometimes the most broken pieces fit together in the most beautiful way when kindness steps in where darkness once lived.